Hey there, Terrible Warriors. Just Ecock here. Right before we start with this episode, I do want to let you know that there's a really cool thing I'm involved in right now. At the Stormcrow Manor here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, I'm running games for them, along with a few other really cool DMs on their roster. It's called the Dine DM program. You sign up, you reserve a table, you get a fixed price meal, get your appetizer, your main course, and 4 hours with me. Or another DM if you don't want to spend any time with me. I thought you wanted to spend time with me. Anyways, I'll be running a wide variety of games for Stormcrow, and essentially, if you've heard it here on the Terrible Warriors, you can play it with me at the Stormcrow Manor. To find out more information on the DM Dine program, head over to dmdineto.com. And that's the closest thing you're going to hear to an advertisement on this podcast. Now I will crossfade into another conversation we were having as we go into our jokey cold open and we return to Star Trek Adventures.
I'm already hit record, and all of this was recorded. That's
Neat.
good. That's fine. This
Sweet.
is fine.
Fun.
So it begins with a dun space, the thing we have to cross.
Oh yeah, that thing.
These are the voyages of the U.S.S. Horizon. Its ongoing mission to vent people into space. To acknowledge that there are signals that sometimes go out and they ping things, and then we ping them back, and then that causes interstellar conflict. And to boldly say, I have a plan.
Space, the thing we have to cross. These are the voyages of the U.S.S. Horizon. Its ongoing mission, to seek out new life, to swear it was on stun the whole time, and to boldly claim we can fix it.
Hello there, terrible listeners. Welcome back to a new month, a new game. I'm Justin Ecock, your GM for this adventure in Star Trek. You voted for it on our Patreon poll. Thank you. I've been looking forward to getting back to this, our living campaign. This continues a very long living campaign that we started a while ago. And I have some people back at the table that I'm going to introduce you very shortly. If you are not caught up on this story, don't worry. I'm still going to try and make these 4 hours their own adventure as well. But if you want to go all the way back to the beginning, TerribleWarriors.com, on the Star Trek Adventures icon there on the home page, you'll bring up a playlist that'll have all of the episodes in order that we played them in, so you don't have to go through the RSS feed and find them all like scattershot throughout our other adventures. So that's curated there for your listening pleasure and convenience. Thank you for supporting the Terrible Warriors. So we're coming back to Star Trek Adventures, published by Modiphius. This adventure we're playing is the Assessor's Gambit, and it's written by Jim Johnson, who we interviewed here on this very show. Come back, Jim. We like talking to you. And I am surrounded by players new and old, because I always like bringing new members of the crew, and we are returning to the Horizon this time. But first, it is good to have our captain back. Hello there, Captain Schofield.
Hello.
Hello.
It is good to be back.
And it's Conal.
Yes.
Conal,
Sorry.
Conal
okay,
Macbeth,
yeah.
better
I
known
thought we were
as
gonna
in the
go
geek
around.
community. No,
Okay.
I'm just doing it in order.
Cool.
But we're going by seniority this time.
Dope. Okay, well then, yes, I am Conal Macbeth, better known in the nerd community as Toronto's greatest supervillain and evil genius, Dr. Terrawat, playing Captain Gavin Schofield, and it is great to be back.
And we are going to fill in some of the blanks here, but Captain Gavin Schofield, it should be noted that every person that has served on the Horizon since we started is no longer actively serving on the Horizon.
Hey,
they've
but
all,
for good
they've all
reasons.
been transferred away. Yeah.
Yes, they all went to do good things.
We'll
it's not like
they all
everybody
went off to
quit.
Good Thing University,
Yeah.
and they never wrote back.
Some people had to go
They
home
don't
because they
return your calls.
vented too many people into space.
So
And they had to
uh,
go back and sit in a corner.
That's okay. We got you a new assistant. We'll introduce her shortly. But our chief science officer, who's no longer serving on the Horizon, but had a heck of an adventure on the Revelation last time.
I'm Velvet Wells, the Velvet Duke of the Dandies, and I have left the U.S.S. training wheels for other horizons.
And I'll have you know, since the time of Revelations and now, along with your commendation with the Science Council, you also got a promotion. Ooh. I have decreed it so because I am the Lord your God. You are now commander Szabo. No longer
Commander Bolasa.
Were you already a lieutenant commander?
I was lieutenant.
Oh, you were lieutenant. Okay, I'm not gonna have you skip a whole command. Then you're going up to lieutenant commander. I was really looking forward to making you commander. I thought you were lieutenant commander this whole time, but hey, now you're.
I also thought I was,
So,
but that's not what the sheet
Being
says.
promoted to lieutenant commander comes with its own responsibilities and a little bit more pressure on your reputation and all that. And so that's a thing. That's a thing that's happened, which is really cool. And also, though, our other lieutenant, right? You're still a lieutenant. Right,
I'm
right
actually
now?
lieutenant commander.
You're
as
actually
well.
lieutenant commander.
I
Okay, so
am.
you're both lieutenant commanders.
Yeah.
Great. So now you're equal rank.
Equal rank.
So that the
How's it
rivalry
going?
continue. From the U.S.S. Revelation, you don't have a ship to serve on. You kind of wrecked it last time.
Yeah, kind of blew it out and screwed it up. Neil Tavares playing Teth Trovaquil, Chief Medical Officer.
Yeah, you were the CMO on the Revelations, but also like really a heart for the research that went on there. And even though you were the doctor on the ship, because it was such a science vessel, you were also like the head of the science department and would like arrange all the different labs that were going.
It's like a little small
studies and
hillbilly
things like
ship.
that.
Just
Pretty
do
great.
what
It
we
was only
can.
like 40 people, so like going onto the horizon is like going from a small town to like living in the big city. So it was like there's 1,000 crew members here. You're not going to learn all their names. And on the Revelation, everyone knew Teth, and if you want to be anywhere on that ship, you needed to get with Teth first. So it's kind of going from big dog on campus to new kid in class very quickly. Speaking of new kid in class, new to the horizon and new to Star Trek Adventures, but not new to the Terrible Warriors. Welcome back, Erika.
Hi. So I am Erika Szabo. I will be playing Tazar, the counselor Vulcan on the horizon.
Yeah, you rolled up a counselor and a Vulcan. You went to Starfleet Medical. You're a young officer. This is your lieutenant junior grade, but this is actually your first assignment on a starship. Before this, you worked with the Diplomatic Corps, and you've done a couple stuff with Starfleet Medical, but you've never actually been assigned to a starship. And they've assigned you to this starship as counselor, but also as an assistant to the bridge staff on for Captain Schofield. And what that means, what do the brass think you need a counselor working for you?
I just like that whisper, I will fix you. And I'm just like, what? Like, what?
He's a fixer-upper.
That's a character standing over your bed while you sleep.
Yeah.
Like,
Whisper.
good
sweet
morning.
noise.
Like, yeah.
I have made you coffee. Like as a stoic
Indeed.
Vulcan counselor.
Oh, God, it's lovely.
So that's where we're going to start. You're en route back to Narendra Station, Captain, and you've got a new counselor on board.
Yay.
So let's just do that scene.
Well, good. We always need more hands on board the ship.
Counselor, you just showing up with your coffee. Morning coffee.
Here's your coffee, Captain.
Oh, good morning, counselor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here. I very much look forward to ensuring that everything will work out smoothly between the two of us.
Good. Okay, great. I hope that the next engagements that we have going forward are, what's the word I'm looking for?
Chill.
According to plan. Because you will learn that when we get out into the frontier, as I'm not sure if this is your first time out in the Shackleton Expanse, on the rickety edge of civilization in space, but once you get out there,
necessarily,
things very often go crazy.
One of the reasons
So-
why, for her first assignment, she was assigned to the Horizon and on the Shackleton Expanse is she grew up on a frontier colony.
Oh,
So
nice.
she's already used to being far from help.
Okay, yeah.
and being on a place that is very self-sustained. And then from that Vulcan frontier colony went into Starfleet Academy and right to San Francisco. So it was kind of already quite used to. It was noted in her record, like, wow, you get used to like scene changes pretty well. So
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Fairly used to this.
so that's
So,
in her record.
You
might
okay,
be aware
so
of that.
You're no stranger to how things are out on the edge of space, so I think it'll be a good fit.
Looks may be deceiving, but I do think that this will be a grand adventure.
Good. Excellent.
And we go to
Look forward to
credits.
having you on board.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And when we come back, the ship's in warp, and we're getting a captain's log as we're arriving at Narendra Station. You have a little handout to read. here.
It's a good thing you had your coffee.
Yeah. Captain's log. Stardate 48942.6. We've been recalled to the Narendra station, where Admiral Carey has called me and my senior staff in for a major scientific briefing. The fact the other captains and staffs assigned to the Expanse are here too does not bode well. Someone's figured out how to put together some of the puzzle pieces we've found over the last several months. I'm deeply curious to see what that picture looks like, though I have to admit to a certain level of dreadful anticipation as well.
You have not had too much going on since Signals for you, since our campaign. Since Signals, the Horizon has spent doing more supply missions and transporting dignitaries and maybe even hosting conferences and people that are there. And it's been quite by the book on Horizon, day to day.
It's a nice change of pace.
Chief Engineer Monroe, who is Steve Saylor's character, has been reassigned to the Corps of Engineers.
He got the robot eyes.
And he's teamed up with your pilot, the con officer Steve Armstrong, played by Brent. They're both working with the Corps of Engineers on a Nova class ship that somehow survived a supernova, and you're just really glad that you were nowhere near that supernova. So that ship has been. The thing is, the Shackleton Expanse only has like a handful of ships assigned to it. So of those handful of ships, one of them is now dry docked.
Yep.
So those two people aren't on board the Horizon anymore. Your first officer, Commander Haddock, has been recalled to Starfleet Security for a briefing on the Klingon situation.
Yeah.
As someone who understands the Klingons himself, he's been brought off, and you just haven't heard from him since. And since then, a lot of his information has been classified. So you're not even able to follow up on his record anymore. He's just kind of gone off grid into Starfleet intelligence.
Well, I hope he's okay. And I am glad for two things. One, that I wasn't there when the star exploded. And two, that everyone's okay.
Yeah.
That last statement was redacted by the way.
Not everyone's
you
okay.
are a
That
little
guy lost half
concerned.
a face.
Your science officer was assigned to the Revelation along with your con officer, Szabo, and you haven't heard much from your science officer since Revelation and the Nova class ship. There was Nova class in a Nova. And on top of that, if we take that, every player who has played in this campaign and served on the Horizon is no longer serving on the Horizon. You're the last remaining original member of that band.
Really?
But
of the OG crew?
Of the OG crew.
Yeah.
They're not on the Horizon anymore. They're all working other jobs in Starfleet.
Well, that's nice.
And on the crew, walking the hallways, it's all new faces. We still have our NPCs. Stephen Prince is still there, and Dr. Rempel and Chief Engineer Cherney. They're all still on board.
My boys.
But there's a lot of new faces as well. A lot of new cadets. There's a new graduating class, and some of them picked to be assigned to the Shackleton Expanse because that's where you make a career happen. And they want to be out there. And among those graduating members was top member class from Starfleet Medical as a counselor has been assigned to Horizon, and you have now had a counselor assigned to the Horizon.
It's just like, I'm happy, but at the same time, I'm just like, what? Why? What do you want?
And she's holding a lot of sessions with the crew, getting to know you, and there's mindfulness courses, Vulcan meditation practices. And even trying to change you're on your replicator in your quarters, and your daily nutritional supplements have been vulcanized to be more bland and stuff. It's stuff to help your mental
breathing
state.
exercises.
Yeah.
Remember?
Gotta make sure you do your stretches.
Yes. None of that
Every
Ractagino
day.
coffee anymore. Just have a nice tea.
Yeah.
Nice Vulcan tea.
Healing crystals for you here.
Healing crystals. Turning my ship into a retirement home.
It already is.
It already is. Could be worse.
So you arrived at Narendra Station. You beam on board to Narendra with your counselor in tow, who is still trying to convince you. Counselor, what are you trying to convince the captain today as you're in mid-argument as you beam into the transporter pad on Narendra Station?
Oh, well, I mean, we are going over doing your breathing exercises every morning. It's a very important part of body mindfulness.
Okay.
I think that it is something that you very much need to integrate into your life in order to...
I have found that stern nose-only breathing, like an old man does, has served me very well for a very long time.
I do think that the long-term...
At this time, an ensign shows up on the station with the daily schedule. The station is a buzz. You've never seen it this busy before, but you've never seen, like, all the ships have been recalled. Not just the Federation ships, but the Klingon ships. In fact, there wasn't room for the Horizon to dock, so that's one reason why you beamed over. There's shuttlecrafts coming in. The place is full. They've even said, like, essential personnel only, no shore leave for the people on Horizon, because the station is so packed, only invite only kind of a thing. And the ensign gives you a data pad with an explanation on the Shackleton Expanse, and they're bringing the captains together to, like, compare notes. And is going to lead you to, the briefing's already started, sir, right this way, and he's leading you down the hallway.
I can imagine also, like, coming in on the teleporter, the guy who's running it's just like, okay, you're in, go, move. I got like 5 more people floating out there.
He's like navigating through the crowds, right? Like, he's a real go-getter. And let's give this person a name too. Ensign Jordan. Ensign Damon Jordan. And Damon Jordan is like, he seems like another fresh out of the academy. Like, every day you get older, the officers keep getting younger. And so this ensign, he's like 19. He's like fresh out of the academy.
Oh God.
And he's working his way through this crowd though, and he's leading you right to like you get lost in Narendra, but he's got this whole thing like mapped out on the back of his hand. And
Good for
you
him.
see down the hallway the Klingon wing of the station, and that bar where you got into that fight with Captain Akul and stuff. And you wonder,
Good times.
what happened to the Mapool, right? Like it wasn't destroyed, but it was disabled after the convoy mission.
Did he get vented into space?
No,
he survived.
Yeah, he
right?
survived.
Yeah. No, he did, and he was like one of the only survivors.
He was like the sole survivor of the senior staff
of his entire like his whole crew. He was like one of a handful of people that survived.
Fought in the hallways with Haddock there.
Yeah,
against the Orion pirate.
If I see him, I will wave. I'll be like, "Hey," and then I'll keep walking because
if he sees you, he will wave his blade.
Yeah, because well, no, I thought we ended on pretty good terms.
You don't
as
see
far
Captain
as Klingons
Akul,
go.
but you do see that the Federation and Klingon station residences are they're mixed right now. Everyone's moving around, and it's busy. So Ensign Jordan brings you into the briefing room. Doors open, and as you go in, they're in mid conversation, and you see up there on the dais a Betazoid civilian scientist that your data pad identifies as Dr. Helena Taliaferro. And Dr. Taliaferro is not alone on this, though. Right now, it's your science officer. Oh. The door's open. You walk in there, and they're up at the front of the room. There's like rows of chairs that have been laid out for the different captains of the crews, and they're kind of mixed between Klingons and Starfleet. It's not a packed room, right? There's only 5 ships, and that and like some first officers and other senior staff. So there's already, let's say, a dozen or so people sitting in chairs in 2 rows up in front of a big view screen with Szabo, your old science officer, an Andorian, and a Betazoid that you know as Taliaferro, as they're briefing the other captains on the Shackleton Expanse.
What's an Andorian?
An Andorian is a blue, white-haired with 2 antennae.
Yeah, one of the blue
folk. They're also Star Trek fact, one of the founding members of the Federation. So along with Vulcans, humans, Tellarites, and Dorian, those 4 were the ones who signed the charter.
The first
back like 200 years ago.
Oh, dope.
So Andorians have been part of the Federation as long as the humans have. But they also were at war with the Vulcans long before the humans got out into space. And so part of the Federation charter was also like bridging those 2 people together. So Andorians tend to be also somewhat stoic and honorable. They're like a blend between Klingons and Vulcans in that way, in that philosophy. They come from an ice moon. They're one of the remaining members of the Federation that still have ritual dueling as part of their society, but are also a very scientifically minded, rational people that see the way Vulcans handle logic as being almost superstitious and paranoid. They don't really, they understand reason involves both emotion, instinct, and logic, and expunging all that for a stoic philosophy is kind of be short-sighted. So Andorians tend to be debaters, like Tellarites, which is why they all kind of get along, as well as they make good security officers and scientists, and they're good people to have on board.
But they honor self-interest.
Yeah.
So, like, there's nothing wrong with being self-interested and putting the interest of your people ahead of the interest of other
The
people.
contrarian in an Andorian society is admired.
Yes.
All right, and those who break from the mold are elevated in their society. So they look for the outliers. And so anyway, there's an Andorian. That's your Cole's notes there on who the Andorians are.
Do I know Bo's been promoted?
You recognize the pips. He's got an extra pip on his shoulder because lieutenants have 2 dots and lieutenant commanders have an extra ring with a black dot. So you recognize the 3rd dot on his collar there as he's up there. And what are you? I don't want to just narrate everything out. I know this is a lot of exposition in this first episode.
Wave as I sit down.
But you wave as you sit down, and you see the backs of some Klingons and other Federation. Lot of red shirts in the room. A lot of commanders.
Don't want to sit behind the Klingons. They got big shoulders.
And standing on the wall and not sitting with his arms crossed, looking at the thing, catches your eyes. Captain Akul. Hey! In the room at the briefing. That's why you didn't see him in the hallway. He just kind of sees you.
I try to do my best to keep it cool and not gush because I miss him.
Okay, so that sounds like a command plus either presence or insight.
I gotta roll this.
Started off well.
There's your 2d20.
Okay.
No assists.
Command
You're on
and
your own on
insight.
this.
Okay.
Now, what would you think? Are you trying to evoke your presence as captain, or are you trying to do like your empathetic?
Well, I'm just,
Hey, buddy.
If I see him, I'm gonna give
That
him.
would be
give him
insight
like
would
a
be
nod.
empathy. Presence would be like still the captain.
Well,
It's up to you how you want to justify how. I would say command might be the one
yeah.
discipline you
Just-
would work in.
Yeah, I was just saying, command and presence. I would say just like one captain to another,
Yeah.
like give him a nod,
Yeah.
like respectful,
Yeah.
like see how that.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
difficulty 0. We're just trying to see that you don't like.
So
step
I gotta
on your
get
toes.
I gotta get under 14, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of them got under 14. The other one did not.
Okay, so you will. That ends up just breaking even. You don't get any momentum out of it.
That's
you don't
fine.
generate any threat for me out of it. And Akul just kind of like returns the exact same nod to you.
Cool.
And goes back to the thing. And it's very like he's so cool.
He's so good. He's so neat.
So Lhasa, you're the expert on the Shackleton Expanse now. You have been tasked with heading up a special task force on the things we have been learning over the last number of campaigns, and you're leading. I've given you the bullet points. I've got the bullet points here too. I can play the role of Taliaferro and help you. But you're right now at the bullet point PowerPoint presentation here. You've got some like designs of those those irises we captured the images of in the nebula, matched with the signals from Signals, matched with the readings you took on the planet in Tug of War before we beamed back up, along with the crystal fragments from We Are the Stars, and they all share the same patterns. They all come from the same common source, and you have a number of bullet points here. So I'll let you lead through.
So as I was saying, there were quite a few mysteries before us, but we're starting to paint a picture, to have a puzzle that is bringing them all together and recognizing that while there are still mysteries, there are still answers we're seeking, we're headed toward one direction, and we think they're all related to the Relal Shal, the us. This ancient technology, we've seen it across these planets. We've seen it out in space. We've seen it in the crystal fragments, the pentagonal architecture deep within caves, and we know that they are connected.
Taliaferro speaks up that her staff, she's a civilian scientist, she's not Starfleet, but she works with the Science Council. Her staff have gone over the readings and concur that they are confident we are dealing with a product of a single ancient species that still remains unnamed and uncatalogued. But every other planet, there's almost everything we have seen in the Expanse has their fingerprints all over it. And their territory was expansive and their technology unimaginable beyond what we have.
And some of these planets haven't originated in this system. They've somehow had created the technology to be able to bring whole star systems here and take them away.
Taliaferro brings up a live image feed from a probe sent out to 3 Class M planets in the Candidate 3 system that detected something unusual. When the probes arrived, 2 of these Class M planets are not native to this solar system. These super Earths, Class M planets that are double the size of Earth itself, did not originate here. We have a number of theories as to how this could possibly be, but we don't really know for sure. So Lieutenant Commander Bo's readings on their missions on the horizon and the revelations, as well as other readings that the fellow captains here have provided, we are convinced that Candidate 3 system is the next place we should be looking into. But they're being currently blocked by Admiral Carey and the Klingon general, because unfortunately Candidate 3 is among the systems that are closest to the Romulan border in the Shackleton Expanse, and it's too close to the Romulans to investigate.
When we were first investigating, it was the electromagnetic fields that were both shutting things down and piquing interest because of the power behind them. But we're also seeing that there are tetryon particles involved in some way.
It brings up another probe. There's several probes in this system, and on the 3rd Class M planet, it's got like an orbital view of the surface, and it magnifies in, and the entire surface of the planet is covered in what look to be stone ruins. And among that, when they flip to another image, the image kind of goes all blue and glowy, and what you're seeing here are electromagnetic and tetryon particles that are flowing through the planet like currents.
Someone's building a circuit.
What you're looking at
planets.
is one of the greatest mysteries that the Federation has encountered.
And this is a constant in every single phenomenon?
We have found connections between the ruins. We've seen ruins on a couple. I've been to the surface and investigated and cataloged what we could on the binary planet system. So we've seen it there, and then we've started to piece as we've gone across the system that yes, there's definitely either the stone or the energy patterns have been very much similar.
At this point, Admiral Carey stands up and says, we understand the Doctor wants to see a manned mission out to Candidate 3, but it's too close to the Romulan border, and we've agreed that it is just too risky at this time. So, to compromise with the Doctor, we have recalled our ships here to compare our notes, and that's where we want your ships to come in board, to bring all of our data together into a single source. We are forming a task force led by Lieutenant Commander Bo and Lieutenant Commander Chovaquil, to learn more about the mysteries of the Expanse. These are not independent situations. They are connected as a single source. And what we're concerned about is if what we know, the Romulans probably already know, and the Orion Syndicate may have been exploiting that for some time now. So it is to the interest of Starfleet security that we understand this. So they've cleared the Doctor to work with Starfleet to pile the stills together, but they are not clearing a manned mission to Candidate 3. At this point, the presentation is kind of ended, and everyone's starting to stand up, and there's an opportunity here for us to mingle and meet. Dr. Taliaferro is over with some other scientists with data pads comparing the notes. They're very excited to get the information being beamed in from the different ships. Lhasa, Chovaquil, Schofield, and Tazar, the 4 of you, kind of have a moment here to either talk to each other, or ask any questions to the NPCs. The admiral's remaining here talking with some of the other command staff. The general is in conversation with Akul, and the Klingons are there. Some of them are rolling their eyes at a bunch of nerds, sharing the data. Like the Klingons are interested in the security side of this stuff and the power and potential weaponry of the Shackleton Expanse, but they don't really have a whole lot of scientists, as we have discovered during our time. But you've got an opportunity here before I trigger the next moment in our briefing room.
So I think that introductions are...
Yes.
Yeah, Captain, you're reunited.
Hello, Lieutenant Commander Bo. Now it's good to see you again. Good to see
Captain.
you've been keeping busy.
I can't help myself, Captain.
You never could.
Always on the frontier, and we're out on the frontier, so I need to be on that bleeding edge. You keeping well?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my bleeding edge staff got reassigned to other places, so I've mostly been keeping quiet. Quiet life ain't so bad, to be honest, but I am looking forward to getting back into the mix of things.
I want to introduce you to my new friend,
Hello there.
Hi.
Lieutenant Commander Jovico.
Schofield.
Hello, Captain.
Pleasure.
Handshake.
Am I saying that?
Teth
Teth
Chovaquil.
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 Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
Lieutenant Commander Chovaquil. Nice to meet you. And this is Counselor Tazar.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you as well.
She has been trying to get me to drink tea and do stretches.
Oh, good. Have you tried the
So-
chamomile? I find that's very soothing.
It is very soothing. I'm really trying to insist that he instills these things into his life.
I find that if you add some orange rind, he doesn't even realize he's drinking something good for him. Yeah.
That's a very good idea. Thank
I do
you.
like the idea of orange ring.
they're just talking about like
Managing the captain.
Yes.
I feel like, especially for a Vulcan, Teth kind of is still a little reserved.
Teth
Yeah.
Chovaquil Tazar has had a history with Vulcans, specifically a Vulcan commander that you might notice this on his record when you look it up later. Teth was kind of exiled out to the Shackleton Expanse onto that Nova-class ship. He had an up-and-coming career. Everything was going well, and then he disobeyed a direct order from a commanding officer that resulted in just bad things happening. Turned out that commanding officer was correct. Teth wasn't willing to look at the bigger picture and question his commander's orders. That commander was himself a Vulcan, and Teth had always had like a chip on his shoulder over Vulcans themselves. I think that's humbled you since, and you've certainly learned and grown. But there's a bit of that background that a Vulcan kind of like until you met Lhasa, your career was on a line out into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now this has kind of helped giving you a redemption arc here. But you haven't worked with Vulcans since.
Yeah. So I think like reluctantly, but still like maybe extends a hand, Counselor.
And I also very warmly encourage that we build a
Vulcan
bond with one
warmness.
another.
Yeah, there's like a very
Slowly
like
but
this shit is
surely.
Vulcans
get.
gets done.
Yeah.
A strange for a Vulcan, maybe having grown up in a frontier colony and going for counselors. Even as a Vulcan, maybe there's a bit of like Spock's father, like understanding that there is a place for emotion and logic, even if it's not the Vulcan with emotion, but certainly a little bit more forward. thinking.
Knowing how to
saying,
work with
It's
others.
strange being a counselor as a Vulcan, where someone's just like, I'm really upset about some stuff. It's like, have you tried not?
Okay, but
Like being-
but real hot take here though. There was no counselor on Voyager, but that was Tuvok's role.
Yeah.
Tuvok was the advisor to Janeway and understood how to talk to Janeway on an emotional level, even though he came as logic. And even though he was chief of security, he played that role of counselor quite strongly. So that's how I see, even though Tazar is much younger, it isn't that like old trusted friend yet. That's the role I hope she could play, is not just someone who's a counselor for your therapy, but also someone who's there to counsel and to be an advisor
Advise.
beside the
Yes.
throne and to offer an insight that maybe the captain has been lacking with his previous staff in the past.
She's Jafar to you.
Oh, God, come on.
We're going to work on many things together,
We'll go
Captain.
out there, we will find the lab.
Do you have a daughter?
Teleport down to the surface of the planet and touch only
While
the
this
land.
conversation is going on, you notice though Dr. Taliaferro has something has gone off on her pad, and she's gone over to the briefing screen, and she's looking at the telemetry data coming in from the probes, and a lot of like signals are going off, and some of the other scientists are kind of going around, and at that moment. Flashes of data come across the screen, static clouds up the feed, and then a looming shadowy form shimmers into shape as a Romulan warbird decloaks, fires several bolts of green energy towards the view screen, and the video feeds from several probes wink out one by one, blink, 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 one after the other, leaving the screens blank in their wake. Taliaferro stares at the screens and then towards the Admiral in general. Sirs, the Romulans, they've wiped out our long-range probes in the Candidate 3 system. The Admiral clears the decks. All scientists out of the room. Starfleet personnel only. And people are shepherded out. And And she brings the senior staff up.
Because now it's a military matter.
Klingons are immediately talking, like that. Obviously,
Yeah.
this means there's a manned mission on board now, and the admiral calls you up, Schofield. How soon can the Horizon be prepped?
She's already ready to go. We just need to get back to the ship, and we should be fine.
Because some of the other ships are like low on supplies. They're small. They're, one of them's dry docked.
It's one of the benefits of piloting a barge.
Yeah.
Is we can go for long periods of time without having to resupply. But yeah, we can be ready to go within the hour.
She kind of pulls you aside right away, and it's like the Klingons have been itching for a fight against the Romulans. This might be the only thing they've gone. They're heading off anyways. We're sending you along with them because you've had experience with this particular ship. Keep them in check, Captain. We can't go to war just yet.
That's a copy.
And then she turns around and puts a smile back on her face. Captain Akul, I understand you already have a history with with Captain Schofield and the Horizon.
I'm gonna turn, give him another nod.
Akul, just kind of very coldly. Yes, we have shared a time together. The Mapool is finally been repaired after the convoy mission, and he immediately goes out to the general going, so the Mapool, like, he needs to reclaim his honor here, and he's like, they're ready to get out there, and the general's like, do not disappoint us this time, Captain.
Ooh, ouch.
And he's on thin ice with the staff.
Because like the last time that we went out together, the two of our ships, like he got ruined.
Mapool got wrecked.
Yeah, the Mapool got marooned out there, and all of his staff were like killed off. He was one of a handful of people that survived. That being said, though, he's flying a bird of prey, isn't he?
He's flying a Cavort class cruiser.
Yeah.
It's a Cavort class bird of prey. So it's got the same like wingspan of the Galaxy class ship, but its living quarters are only down the stem of it. So it doesn't have as many crew members. Maybe to your 1,000 they have 90.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing, is I was just like, well, it stands to reason that their ship got like ruined in that conflict. We're a Galaxy class ship to them, which was like half our size, if not less.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that we walked away from that and they didn't. I'm not going to tell them that, though. Christ.
Things start moving fast now, as there's like a mission being like generated in real time. You'll get more information on the way, but the Canada 3 system is 11 hours at maximum warp.
Okay.
So they start walking you out the door now as they've got their crew. Talia Farrow is coming up with like her data pads and wants to bring a data dump, but there's not going to be a whole lot of time to disseminate. And she is asking for permission to come on board the Horizon.
Talia wants to come with?
She's a civilian and a scientist assigned to the task force that Lassabo's heading, but she wants in on the ship, sir. And even though it knows they're going off for a fight,
Do you want to keep working with Lieutenant Commander Bo?
I want to keep working. I want to know what's going on as much as anyone. But this is my project. This is my research, and we're downloading it all. A data dump is being delivered over to the Horizon right now. But I can help. I can help unpack this information for you, speed things up. I want to be in this, sir.
Oh, I heard your last boat got wrecked.
I'm still here, aren't I?
You want to come out?
Of course.
All right, grab this one. Let's go. And you?
I'm following this thing right down.
All right.
Yeah.
How about you? You in? You in? All right, let's go.
That's it. You're with me, and you're back to the transporter pad.
Get out of here.
And the counselor is still just your shadow, walking out. I'm like, well, I guess we're not going to be staying for a tea. So much for the
and
meditation.
she's standing like right there, like, Jay.
So much for the meditation class.
Maybe later.
Gotta put a bell on you.
So you're back to the transporter room. You're beamed on board the Horizon. Stephen Prince was, I guess, left in command, and he's already been told what's been going on. Goodness, Captain! He goes and takes his position up at the deck, and they've received their data dump, but it's because of the speed to be sent, it needs to be like uncompressed while you're en route.
Yeah.
And set a course for the Candidate 3 system. And so we have some stuff here. While you're en route, I'm allowed to give you any opportunities here to prepare for what you're flying into. You've got the Mapool is also headed off into warp. You'll both arrive at the same time. and you have subspace communications. You've got your data that's being brought down into the lab that Taliaferro has set up, and you're en route to Candidate 3. What would you like to do to prepare for this mission? Or is there something else like, hey, Lasse, you're back on the horizon. Like, I know this has all happened very fast, but it's like kind of coming back home again. And is there anything you would like to do before we wrap up this episode?
Well, other than my stretching and tea, let's have a look at that information. The data dump.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
It's not just what we got from the Renegade. It's not just what we had from the Horizon. There's also it's coming in
Like
from
all
the
the
sensor, from all the probes.
Shit.
It's coming in from the other ships. So you've
Seems
already
to be
seen a
everywhere.
little bit of what we captured our first few times out.
About 11 hours. I will allow.
yeah.
There is a roll that you can
Yeah.
do to
encapsulate and
to break that down. I was just bringing out.
And
our
I guess now we can
horizon.
assume that the Romulans have potentially found something.
Oh yeah.
It would be.
Like, this
what
doesn't
is
seem
it?
to be
Reason
just
and
preemptively
science.
taking
we
care
came
of the
across
scenario.
something that they don't want us being
Exactly.
on the front of.
Yeah.
Reason and science difficulty of 2. It can be supported by the ship's computers plus science, and any other science officer can choose to also assist in that role with 1 die.
Absolutely.
And they can choose. It doesn't just have to be reason and science. If you have another way you would like
to roll
to
one as well,
offer your help, and then Schofield, would you like to roll for the ship?
Yep, yeah, sure.
You'll be rolling. It's computers plus science, which is a 4 plus. So you're rolling under 14.
Under 14.
So
And
you,
I'm going to be rolling for me.
and yeah, that was
14 exactly.
I got a 1
Oh, yeah,
and a 19.
and you got a 1.
Yes.
So, and what are your focuses? It doesn't matter. You got a 1. So let's give you a couple of. You're gonna get some momentum out of this.
I got 14 exactly.
You got 14 exactly. So we got 3 successes for a difficulty of 2. So we got 1 over. You also got an advantage for rolling the 1. So you got another 1 over. And
I have the xenoanthropology, so as a focus.
So whatever. I'm just gonna give you. You get 3 momentum.
All right.
You're going through the data dump from Candidate 3. The system is densely packed with pockets of the same electromagnetic and gravimetric eddies that have permeated most of the Shackleton Expanse, signals that you, Bo, are very familiar with. The density of the anomalies in this system has no apparent source. And as you're going through, at this point, we can spend some of this momentum you've earned to earn. Like, there's always, I know I keep reminding everyone because we
There's
keep coming
more
back,
information
but there's
we can
a
get.
spend information to obtain information with momentum. You can always request that every time I stop talking. Like, I haven't given you everything when I just give you the first answer.
Copy that.
I'm going to be studious about this as
Oh yeah,
well. So
Studious
I'm going,
offers
second
momentum for 2
question.
answers.
right.
Great. So you get to ask. So, looking through that, Taliaferro is able to point out here, deeply analyzing the data, the eddies from the system, they exhibit similar properties to that of gases being vented from a massive machine. But where that machine could be and how it's generating these byproducts is we're just not going to be able to find that from data provided by a probe.
And does there seem to be a pattern of when they're opening? Like, is there a timed pattern?
It just seems to be like a constant flow of energy. It's not like you're thinking of this iris and stuff like that,
Right,
or opening and
yeah.
closing and portals. We've been dealing with a lot of that. They're like, no, this may be a source.
Does it seem to be using our system as the source of the energy, or is it expelling into?
There's just
we
not
can't
enough
tell
data
if
here.
there's-
She's looking at that. Like, the probes just didn't collect enough data before they were destroyed by the Romulans.
Shit.
Yeah.
So you're kind of all just kind of standing
Dude, I
there
don't
in
know.
the
Is
in
there
the
is there
lab.
any possibility of trying to salvage something from them? Do you think we could potentially pull data off of these probes if we can find them?
I do remember we tried to send one in to
Yeah.
get any data
I mean,
that we
when
could from the
probes
other
get
side. but-
blasted by Romulan disruptor bolts, they tend to be like
Toast.
Vaporized.
blasted. Those things are just gone. But we'll know more when we get into the system.
I'd say just get us there.
Have we been able to pair, in terms of the data, pair anything about the eddies with the activity we've seen on the planets around them in terms of the pulses through the stone or metal? Or
I'm not aware.
No, not yet.
can we at least test that theory as we?
Yeah,
Can
when
we-
we arrive,
Right.
when we're
Yeah.
there, yeah. I mean, that's what Taliaferro is hoping we'll be able to answer. So, Captain, you're feeling a little like the scientists are being sciency. You have like 9 hours before we arrive in Candidate 3. You've got a crew of a lot of cadets, and people around. This crew hasn't really seen combat the way you did in the convoy, or even that standoff with the Romulans and Signals.
I remember that.
These people are kind of fresh. So is there something, Captain, that you would like to do as we're flying in? Like, we're at warp. When we come out of warp, Stephen Prince is like, we don't know what we're flying into.
Yeah,
Right?
It
Like,
could be
the
immediate
last
combat.
image we've got, he's been going over the telemetry image of the Warbird, not just the probe, of that video footage that you got from the briefing. And he wants to run drills on the ship and get people ready for battle stations in case we arrive.
Yeah, like make sure people are ready. As a CO, you can do a task called Rally, where you gives broad orders to the entire bridge crew, outlining a plan or strategy. CO attempts to command a command task using one of control, reason, or presence, and without the assistance from the ship. It has a difficulty of 0 and exists specifically to generate momentum.
Yeah, it's specifically
So-
like opening the communications on the bridge.
Yeah.
Attention
And
crew,
it's-
this is the captain.
This
And
is
then
the
you get to
captain's
give a
speech.
speech.
Okay, cool. So do I get the 2 dice?
It's 2 dice.
All right, cool. And we're doing, I think, was it command and presence?
It can be command, presence, control. I think they also said,
Control and or reason.
and
so
or
I'm
reason,
gonna take
depending
control
on
'cause it's
depending
one
on the
extra-
nature of the orders, right?
Yeah, it's one extra thing.
If you're giving direction, get down there and uncouple the
jibber-jabbery, yeah.
That would be probably control, and reason would be a more scientific aspect, and presence is more the role of the captain.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to do like a motivational speech because
Yeah.
we're getting into a dangerous part of space. We're going up against a dangerous enemy.
Dun, 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 dun,
There's
dun,
a lot
dun,
of stuff
dun.
we
It's like
don't
on
know.
The Next
Your
Generation is when that's like
for no
that,
reason.
Yeah.
That
Gotta
synth
reload
music
my
is
sweater.
playing. The really
Yeah,
intense synth
yeah.
music that's playing as they're warping in. Dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun.
Well, we've got one under, one over.
No, not just over.
Oh, so it's a
That's
20.
20.
That's a 20.
Okay. So that generates a complication.
Can I spend determination?
Yes.
Okay. What does that do? Do I just roll another dice?
You each are starting. I'll just say, fine. Normally, you don't start with any, but you start with
Yeah.
one determination. In order to
Okay.
get determination back, you will have to challenge your values. In order to use determination, you also have to invoke one of your values.
I have one veteran
Yeah.
that I can do. So I can speak as a wizened captain who's been in combat before. But yeah, the character's wise and experienced, draws upon inner reserves of willpower and determination in more measured and considered way. But when I spend a point of determination,
Oh,
I
yes.
can roll, and if I roll an effect, I gain that determination.
Your veteran step is separate from values. It allows you to use determination to.
Oh, it's in talents.
to
Okay,
choose a
that's
talent.
over here. So I
Yeah,
roll
that'd
just a
be for
d20.
science. A D6
A
when you're rolling for
D6.
effects. And when you're
Okay.
rolling for effects,
Okay.
just don't roll a 4 or a 5. Or a 3 or a 4. 5 is fine. 5 counts as a chevron.
Okay,
That's an
yeah,
effect.
I rolled a 5.
Yeah. 1, 2, 5, and 6 are effects. 1 is also a 1, and 2 is also a 2, but 3 and 4 are blank and aren't anything.
Okay, so then 5, 6 is
And
good.
5 and 6 are chevrons.
So
you
I
get an
got
effect.
those, and then I guess the determination that I spend then will be under the value of mostly self-reliance,
So,
because that was
so you bungled that one roll, but you're actually gonna turn it into a success with spending the determination because you're out there going like, we're gonna be fine because I'm your captain. And at first everyone's kind of like, what? Like it didn't work, but then they're like, no, that will work. Yeah, he's our captain.
yeah, okay, yeah, we're willing to take that.
Let me
It's
hear
just-
how that speech sounds. This self-ingratiated,
Just-
self-reliant,
So-
motivational speech
Well-
to the crew.
We've got a lot of green people on board. We got a lot of people that haven't seen combat, but that's okay. That's me. Because
He's talking about me.
He's talking about me.
He knows my name.
Senpai notice.
Looking at you, Ensign Joe. Going into this combat, though, you may be rest assured that you will be going in with a commanding officer who has had experience both in combat through wartime, as well as in the Shackleton Expanse and with Romulans in specific. So we have that experience on our side, and also on our side we have the gumption and what's the word I'm looking for here? Like that spry energy that new people bring to the show. Youth, wasn't it? Gusto.
I'm like, Bo, did he just
Gumption.
Did you just say
Chutzpah.
what's the word I'm looking
Chutzpah.
for
He
in this
said that.
announcement?
Chutzpah.
He actually said that in
Chutzpah?
the announcement.
That's how I
great.
said it in our paranoia
That's
game.
how he does his announcements. It's all very top
Moxie.
of mind.
That works
We
too,
got
Captain.
We're in
new
good
people
hands,
on
I'm
board
sure.
that are going to bring that moxie that we need in order to get this done. Make sure everybody's at your stations and stay alert when we are coming out of warp, because we have no idea what we're going to be coming into, but we've got us, we've got this ship, we have each other, and we've got the Klingons. So we can do this.
Red alert.
Yeah, red alert.
Oh, fuck! That was my favorite part in The Next Generation, where Picard gives this big motivational speech about clear your mind and think for the traveler, and he's going to get us home. And by remaining calm and not letting our imagination warp our reality, we'll be able to get back home. Now think clear, happy thoughts and focus them towards the traveler. Red alert. It's sort of like, how was I supposed to stay calm? Anyways, thank you, Captain. We are minutes away from arriving at Candidate 3, and in the next episode, we will come out of warp and we'll find out what exactly we're flying into.
Did I generate any momentum, or did I
Oh,
break?
hell yeah!
Okay.
So that was
That was one
it's
success, one
difficulty
fail,
zero,
but then
right?
so
it ended up being 2 successes, so you ended up generating 2 momentum for your crew. So you're
Dope.
sitting at a nice, easy 4 momentum, here, which is going to be good to use. And whenever we generate like advantages, if we can't think of an advantage to create, a trait to add to the scene that could lower a difficulty, like restore power to the ship would be an advantage. We can just convert that into momentum instead, keep things rolling. So we we arrive in Candidate 3. And are the Romulans ready for them? How are the Klingons handling this mission? I don't think they're going there for a survey. And furthermore, there's a mystery here in the Shackleton Expanse, and everyone is arriving at ground zero at the same time. Are we going to finally get answers? And why is this campaign called the Assessor's Gambit? And we'll find out next week, right here at Terrible Warriors. I'm your game master, Justin Ecock. Really excited to get back into Trek. The first episodes always tend to be a bit of like establishing everything, but then they always tend to ramp up into a nice little epic garbage nonsense at the end. So my crew of the Horizon, starting at my right, your left, are leader of the task force on the Shackleton Expanse.
I am Velvet Wells, the Velvet Duke of the Dandies. I am Lieutenant Commander Bolasa.
And his assistant, really excited to be here where the action is.
Really excited here, folks. Neil Tavares, Teth Chovaquil, Chief Medical Officer.
And our captain, just inspiring, just the pants off of him.
Just the pants.
Conal Macbeth, better known in the geek community as Toronto's greatest supervillain and evil genius, Dr. Terawatt, playing Captain Gavin Schofield.
And our counselor, just so proud of her captain.
Thank you for that beautiful speech.
Just blank face, just...
We haven't gone through our values. We'll do that at the beginning of the next episode, because what's one of those values you have there, Tazar?
Stronger as a collective.
No, what's the very last one?
Oh, Captain Broke, gonna fix.
What? No.
It's one of her worldview values.
I'm fine.
Captain's broke, gonna fix.
We're gonna work on that.
I might be able to offer some help with doctor's orders.
You both have doctor's orders.
Yes, we do.
We'll fill in the blanks on how the medical side of the ship. They can
Make a good
outrank
team.
you in rules of your medical health.
Oh, pish posh. I am the picture of health.
Captain, I am ordering you to a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain, you look stressed. You should go nap.
Yeah.
You are the picture of health. You're the before picture.
I was thinking taking a nap anyway. I'm taking a nap, but only because I want to.
Wake me up when we
Not
get
because you
there.
told me.
We're getting there in an hour. I'm having a nap.
Start of a beautiful friendship. I
Take
do
a
look
nap.
forward to this.
All right. If you're a Patreon supporter, we did have a pre-game chat. It's available there at terriblewarriors.com/Patreon or patreon.com/terriblewarriors. Both of those work. And until next week, thank you for joining us on the Terrible Warriors. We'll see you next time. Be good to each other. Bye.
Toodles.
Red alert!
The Terrible Warriors has new episodes out every Tuesday. We'll return to Star Trek Adventures this time next week for part 2 in the Assessor's Gambit. Now, at this point, I would be telling you to head over to patreon.com/terriblewarriors to participate in this month's poll. But this month's poll isn't happening because we're getting ready for our season finale. Only 2 more campaigns are left to record. After Star Trek, we'll be playing Forbidden Lands by Free League Games, and after Forbidden Lands, Julian Spillane says he'll return to the show under one condition: that we finish what we started with the Pokemon RPG. Be sure to check out the Patreon page for exclusive content like the pre-gaming chat that's already up there for our listeners, as well as participating in our private games that we're going to continue holding every month. They're a lot of fun, and maybe we'll start recording some of our reports on how those games have been very soon. Star Trek Adventures is published by Modiphius Entertainment. The Assessor's Gambit is written by Jim Johnson. And follow us on Twitter at Dice Warriors. And today's Terrible Warriors and your Starfleet officers are Conal, Macbeth, Erika, Szabo, Velvet Duke, Neil Tavares. Game Master Justin Ecock will return next week. Part 2, right here on the Terrible Warriors.